Now, yesterday I came across a constitutional study, and it was pretty good, really well in depth. So I left them a kind of a calling card. Um, I put there, reading the Second Amendment, after the word infringe, there's no subparagraph A, B, or C that would stipulate what an acceptable infringement might be. Therefore, it is forbidden. Congress is constitutionally barred. So I got a reply back. This is from the Constitutional Study. Better back us up just a hair. I'll put a link in here so you guys can go. Everything that you can read on the Second Amendment, go read it so you understand it a lot better. And the guy wrote, absolutely, the language in the Second Amendment shall not means that they are completely forbidden. Now, if you read the Constitution, excuse me, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So he wrote back and he said, absolutely, the language shall not means they are forbidden, but not just Congress. Unlike the First Amendment, the Second does not place its limitations on Congress. Article 6 states in Clause 2 that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and in Clause 3 that all legislative, executive, and judicial officers in both the state and the federal government, I'll read that again, that it states that all legislative, executive, and judicial officers in both the state and the federal government must swear or affirm to support the Constitution. That means all government officials at all levels are bound to support the Constitution, including the Second Amendment. That means all your Supreme Court and all your lower courts, all your judges, the Congress, the Senate, the President, your governors, they all have to listen to the Constitution. They are breaking the law. They are not complying with the Constitution. I'll put a link to this when I'm finished, so you guys can go check out this the Constitutional Study. It's a pretty good thing that they got there. I mean, we got to really thank people like the Constitutional Study, Chris Ann Hall, that's on YouTube. I mean, they're really pushing what the Constitution has to say. And you better listen up. If you don't know your rights, you don't have any. People will walk all over you for the rest of your life. You know, a lot of people don't know something here, and I'll tell you in a minute. I got some cat hair on me. You know, liberty is the right for all human beings, and their government is established to protect those rights, not regulate them. And they can't regulate a right away, even in the name of public safety. Okay, now, another thing that we got a problem with in Supreme Court, especially, you expected these people to know the Constitution when they went there. A lot of them didn't, because they didn't study the Constitution. When they went to their higher school of intelligence, education, whatever you want to call it, they didn't study the Constitution. They only studied what other judges said about the Constitution. And by doing that, it made the judge the law and not the Constitution. Now, all these laws that Congress has passed since 1934, they did this under they never had the powers to do this. What do I mean by that? If you look at the enumerated powers, they are working outside the scope of powers granted to Congress by the Constitution. They don't have any kind of power whatsoever to regulate guns or to pass firearm laws, and neither do the states. The Second Amendment to the Federal Constitution recognizes that the God-given right to keep and bear arms is to be free from any interference whatsoever from the federal government. Accordingly, the federal government is nowhere in the Constitution granted authority to abridge, restrict, or infringe in any fashion whatsoever guns or ammunition. Thus, all restrictive laws made by Congress, all regulations made by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms are unconstitutional as outside the scope of powers granted to Congress and to the executive branch by our Constitution. Restrictions of arms and ammunition is not one of the enumerated powers granted to Congress or to the executive branch. Now, some of these nitwits will tell you, well, it's a necessary and proper clause that gives us power. It's the Commerce Clause that gives us power. And they all talk through their behinds because it does not. Commerce is only to regulate commerce, period. It doesn't mean it gives them any more power. It's not just a grant of general police powers over whatever they want to do. It doesn't work that way. It's not what the Constitution says. Look it up in the Federalist Papers, and you'll find out what the Constitution really means, not what these idiots say it means. Okay, well, I'll put a link to this study. Go to it, read it, subscribe to it, so that you'll get these updates all the time, and you'll be able to understand the Constitution a little bit more and what your rights are. Thanks for watching.